Minardi, welcome back to another edition of Build Within Builders, where we unpack the stories of amazing individuals, amazing organizations, amazing companies that are at the forefront of skills-based innovation and apprenticeships. This is a bite-sized opportunity for us to unpack the stories of those that are leading the charge as it relates to apprenticeships and skills-based innovation. Today, I am beyond excited to bring some of the most innovative voices in Los Angeles, and not just Los Angeles, but the entire country as it relates to apprenticeships. We are joined today by two powerhouse women that are leading the conversation, both from an employer perspective as well as an apprentice perspective. And I am just incredibly excited to have both Joyce Sloss and Courtney Corrin from SCA Strategies here with us today to talk about their journey in apprenticeships and talk a little bit about their experiences with the model. So Courtney, Joyce, thank you for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you. Just for everybody's edification, Courtney, Joyce, and I have had multiple conversations talking about their experience and getting updates on their apprenticeship program. And every single time we chat, I say, gosh, I wish we had recorded that conversation. Just because your insight is something I think a lot of other folks in our space really need to be hearing. But with that, Joyce Sloss is the managing partner at SCA Strategies. SCA Strategies in LA is an international consulting firm that helps bridge the gap between the public and private sector, from aviation to other forms of transportation across the board. Joyce has been leading the charge nationally and internationally for nearly 30 years and has become an amazing proponent of skills-based innovation. And Courtney on the team is a office operations apprentice, but that is just the tip of the iceberg. Courtney is about, I would say, halfway, maybe a little bit more than halfway through her apprenticeship program with Joyce. She has a background in sports at USC and is blowing the doors off of her experience at SCA Strategies. So thank you both for joining me today. It's great to see the both of you. I'm glad the weather in LA is getting a little bit cooler. And just thank you both for joining me.
Thank you, Philip. We appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
So maybe, Joyce, we could start off with a little bit of an introduction, fill in a couple of the gaps that I may have missed about your background and your journey to this point here today.
Thank you so much. Yes, Joyce Sloss. I started with the city of Los Angeles. I worked in the city of Los Angeles for many years and was in the budget and finance office, the city administrative office, which reports to both the mayor and the city council. And we handled the budget for the city and also the economic development programs, which is what I oversaw while with the CAO's office. And then from there, I went to Los Angeles World Airports, where I headed up the division entitled Business and Job Resources Center. It was a renamed division because that reflected actually what we are doing. And we reached out to the local businesses, small businesses that have the capacity to be able to work on airport projects to help them know how to navigate that system. Because believe it or not, navigating government isn't always easy. And then we also worked with the local community members for jobs so that they could learn about job opportunities at the airport within their community. And we also had a high school and college internship program in which the students were able to work in various departments and also even in the terminals for these airport jobs and learn about that. And the students who went through the internship program were hired immediately into full-time jobs once they graduated from college because of all the experience that they brought to the table. And we also had a bond assistance program to help small businesses increase their bonding capacity, and an international trade program where we helped some of the businesses that were already doing well to be able to expand their business overseas. And then and from there, I retired from the airport and started our own business, doing pretty much the same thing, except that now we're helping the businesses. We're walking alongside them, helping them to know how to do business with the government agencies, and we're on a number of these large projects. So we know wonderful companies and are always open to learning about more who can work on these large projects, either as a business or with jobs.
Amazing, Joyce, and I continue to be amazed at your ability to be working with so many partners across the board, whether it's state, local, even federal. We're kind of at a time and place where dealing with government, as you mentioned, is not the easiest thing in the entire world. And your team there at SCA makes it easier and more impact oriented for the folks that you're working with. So thank you for that, and welcome to the chat, Courtney. Maybe give us a little bit of your background and tell us about your journey to date.
Hi, my name is Courtney. So my background, I went into college, I guess, as people would say is the traditional route. I was actually a student athlete. So I participated in two collegiate sports. So I was on the soccer team as well as the track team. From there, I was afforded the opportunity to become the director of recruiting for the track and field program over at the University of Southern California. I was in that job for about 2.5 years. It was definitely a new job. Essentially, what you do is I did more administrative duties. So that is essentially recruiting in terms of everything from when they visit to unofficials to official visits, making sure that, we sell our school, even though it doesn't need to be sold. USC is an amazing school, and just making sure that the next home for athletes next 4 years were essentially showed like the best that they wanted to have and everything that they were excited about. And yeah, so I ended up becoming an apprentice because for me, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. It kind of just fell into my lap. And I think that's usually what happens is you're afforded opportunities. But you also kind of don't know what you want to do, or you have a desire to do something or major with something else. And so for me, being an apprentice was the route to go, to kind of bridge that gap, as we say, with like what I wanted to do versus like my capabilities, and what I could actually grow, in terms of like in the professional realm. So being an apprentice has been amazing, and I'm excited to speak to it as well.
So a leader in sports, easy transition to becoming a leader in business. So welcome to the show. Joyce, I want to maybe start off by taking us a little bit backwards. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about your decision to implement an apprenticeship program, and maybe before you did that, what you knew about apprenticeships?
So I knew, except for the word, I knew nothing about the apprenticeship program or how it worked or anything about it. And the reason why we were interested in the apprenticeship program after I started learning about it is because we are a small business. We're a tight-knit team. And we do a lot with partnerships, but we needed more people on our team. And when I learned about the program, I thought, well, this might be an opportunity to bring someone on board who may be interested in the work that we're doing, so that we can really begin to grow our team and really develop people who would be interested in this and want to grow. So that's actually what generated the interest. I had a real need for new people, and I was starting to do a search, and I wasn't quite finding who I needed to fit the bill, because the work that we do is a little bit unique. And so it does take a certain type of personality. We can train people, but it also takes a certain type of personality who'd be willing to kind of jump in there and work with all kinds of folks and in all types of situations. And so that's what drew me to the program.
Great. And for the folks at home that may not know, the program that we're talking about is the partnership between BuildWithin and the Los Angeles Department of Economic Opportunity, where, and Joyce, I'd love your thoughts on this more holistically, but the reality is across the country, and indeed in LA, there are government entities and organizations that are working every day to support local companies, small, medium businesses, large enterprises that are having a challenging time closing the skills gap. And one of the partnerships that is available to companies in Los Angeles is the ability to get access to BuildWithin through our partnership with the Department of Economic Opportunity. So shout out to LA County for leaning in and being forward thinking in terms of applying apprenticeships to some of those challenges that companies are facing. Joyce, you mentioned this a little bit, but I'd love maybe to unpack some of the challenges that you encountered when you were first starting to think about a program and first starting to think about leveraging apprentices to help provide the talent that you needed at the time.
Certainly. Yes, first of all, it's making sure that you define who it is, the position description, and really becoming quite clear about the skill sets that you're looking for, because that in turn helps to clarify the kinds of candidates that would be coming forward. So it did take a little time to kind of clarify exactly the type of skill sets that I was looking for. And as I was doing that, we have partnerships with a lot of the work source centers who do a number of skills trainings. And actually, my business partner, Michael, learned about the BuildWithin apprenticeship program. And then we spoke to some of the people who are part of it. And I thought, wow, this would be an amazing opportunity to really bring somebody in. And so we went through that process. And I am very pleased to say that as going through that process, we met Courtney, and Courtney actually many years before had worked for us as an intern. But and so we, and for I think a summer or two, she worked with us as an intern. But then she, went on the career that you had mentioned. But then she entered the BuildWithin apprenticeship program around the same time that we happened to be looking for somebody new for our team. And so it worked out really, really well. Courtney went through the WorkSource system. That was part of the process, that you get processed through the WorkSource system, because all of these agencies need to work together. They are working together to make sure that all the clients have the greatest opportunities possible. So we did that, went through that process, and then, Courtney went through all of that, and then we were able to start several months later, a little bit longer than I had anticipated, but we were able to begin nonetheless.
So
Great.
amazing to hear. It was a little bit of serendipity to have, for the time of Joyce, your team having that need, starting those conversations, starting to think about interesting ways to recruit talent, and then Courtney being at a point in her own journey where, she too was looking for something to accelerate her growth and an opportunity to acquire some new skills and to flex some muscles of her own. Courtney, you hear Joyce and her impetus to get into the apprenticeship model or to be open to it was very much as a result of need. It was very much as a result of finding talent that would contribute to her small team and growing team in a way that aligned with the culture of the organization. Courtney, I'd love to hear maybe a little bit from you about, before getting into the apprenticeship, what did you hear? What did you know about apprenticeships? Where was your head at when this opportunity came to your desk?
Honestly, just similar to Joyce, I knew nothing about an apprenticeship other than what I've learned in history, which is kind of like, okay, there's a mentor, you're the mentee, and it's using a specific trade, whether that's like artisan or you're, I don't know, something like pottery, you're creating pottery and they're teaching you how to do that so you can become a master. Other than that, I didn't know what an apprentice or an apprenticeship was in the modern world. So going through the program and really learning what it is, to me, has been the most eye-opening experience, because I feel like it is truly a solution to our workforce issue. Just coming back to like what Joyce said is like, or specifically what you pointed out, like there is a need. There's a need from the employer, but there's also a need for the employees, right? The people you're trying to recruit. It's like what you do is you go to school 4 years, and then you get out, right? And you look for jobs. But then there's that gap, whether it's depending on what maybe the employer is, what they're looking for is very specific. It's very hard to find that talent group, so to speak. So for me, like what Apprentices does is it's like that work-based program. You're in a work-based educational institution, but you're not paying for, you're getting paid for. And that to me is hugely beneficial for the employer because they're getting what they want. They're also teaching what they want. They're honing in exactly how to recruit now. So I think it's an invaluable not only experience, but it's an invaluable workforce solution. So I just always want to reemphasize that.
And I think what I would add to what Courtney has said is that for the employer, it's beneficial because with most programs you take somebody on, and but working with the Department of Labor and with LA County, for us, the first portion of Courtney's work was paid for at a very high percentage by LA County, by this partnership. And so it really makes it quite irresistible to not take the chance. I mean, it makes sense to take the chance to explore this, and it gives the apprentice an opportunity to learn about something too. So I think that's also great. I think most employers sometimes get worried about, oh gosh, we have to make this big investment and suppose it doesn't work out, and they get a little bit worried about that. But here with the apprenticeship program, the work is being subsidized, and it gives the apprentice an opportunity to show his or her skill sets, and you're able to learn and help them grow in that position, and go forward from there.
Great. And maybe to pull on a little bit of a thread, Joyce, that you mentioned, which is the impact of the model on the organization. Can you maybe talk, now that you're about midway through the apprenticeship program, some of the impacts that the model, that Courtney's participation in the program, some of the impacts that it's had, not just on the bottom line of SCA, but maybe on the culture, on the company itself, and maybe how that may be a little bit different than just hiring somebody that goes the traditional route or is a traditional hire. Can you talk about impact to the org from an apprentice?
Certainly. First of all, I'm really thrilled that for the position that it's one where you have to be very flexible, because there are so many different avenues that we go, that so many different things that we do. And Courtney has been very, very flexible in terms of willingness to do all of the different types of work that we do. And in fact, one of the things that I really appreciate about the apprenticeship program is that there's a skill set, learning modules. And so when I was first interviewed about the kinds of work that the apprentice would be doing, I said, well, there's a lot of different things. Like I would need Canva, or I'll need them to know about, managing time and calendaring. And, I kind of went on and on about a number of things that I said, Excel, Office Suite, I threw out a lot of things. I said, no problem. They said, no problem. We have all of these things in this training. And so hand in hand with the work that Courtney is doing, there's also a training that goes with it. Now, Courtney, of course, came with a lot of skills, but then there were also some other things that were totally outside of what she had already learned. And so I think that is such a benefit, because it really helps develop the person, and it's not all on the employer, but it's on the apprentice to say, okay, here's what the employer needs. I'm going to, jump into and really learn about these particular areas, whether it's, Canva or, and the good part is that as they get this experience and they really learn these skills, it's applicable to any job that they may go to. These are skills that are not just one time or for one specific situation, although, we love, everything here, but it's really an opportunity to grow as a worker, as a skilled person, to be able to take these skill sets wherever you go.
And Maybe to double click on that, I think there's maybe a misconception out there about apprenticeships or skills-based hiring, where employers or businesses or organizations think, why go through all the trouble? Why not just hire somebody that's coming through our front door the traditional way? Why invest in somebody when I could just hire somebody that's going to fill the role in a way that they always have? We've always recruited this way. Why not just continue recruiting this way? What would you say to an employer that maybe doesn't understand the model well? What would you say to somebody that has those types of dispositions, I guess?
Well, I think that it's when you work with this kind of apprenticeship program, if you have a traditional employee that comes in, which is fine, but with the traditional employee, the employer is responsible for making sure that the employee gets all of the training that's needed. If there's something that the employee doesn't have, then the employer is responsible to make sure that that happens. Whereas working with BuildWithin, it's a partnership. It's a partnership between the BuildWithin, the employer, and the apprentice. And the employer gets to say, look, I need these particular skill sets. And you can see whether or not the apprentice has them or not. But the point is you can say, this is what we need. These are the kinds of skill sets that we need. And it's not in cement. So if you say, I've got these 5 things that I need, and then as you're working with your apprentice and you find that, you know what, these extra 5 or 10 things would work out, you get to add to that. And so in the process, in the learning process, the apprentice gets to learn all of these different areas that are beneficial to your company. And this is at the training is at the expense of, if you will, of BuildWithin, but the benefit is also that it helps the company overall, and it really helps. I believe it helps the apprentice really understand a little bit more about the work of the company, because as you say, these are the kinds of things that we're going to have you do. You understand more about how we live and work and the kinds of things that are needed in order to help us grow and move forward. So from that standpoint, I find it very, very, very beneficial. On so many levels, I find it beneficial. And I think this is where the regular traditional hire, where it falls all on you and you have to think about all these things that you're needed. Here you have a partner to work with to really do this on your behalf, and let the apprentice learn all these things and bring it back to the workplace, which makes it a richer experience for both the employer and the apprentice as you grow together with the kind of skills and operations that you're doing.
I love that. It's amazing when you look at the model itself, where, and you mentioned this a little bit, Joyce, where you're from the very beginning creating an environment and creating a structure where Courtney is learning the very specific types of skills that are important to SCA, right? So whether it's Canva, whether it's a different platform, or whether it's anything else, from the very beginning, the idea of creating a curriculum, creating a structure that works for the company and delivers results for the company, I think is important for more organizations to hear about. And the long tail reality of that is, if you get somebody that maybe has been overlooked by traditional hiring models, you invest in them and teach them the things that are important to your organization in a way that fits with your culture, retention on the other side of that is a lot higher. Then the apprentice tends to invest in you, tends to see that value from the employer, and frankly looks at the employer less as a commodity and more as something they want to be a part of longer term. And I think we see that in the numbers with apprenticeships after 4 years from an apprentice graduating. Retention is in the 90+%, because there is that two-way street of the employer investing in the growth of the apprentice and the apprentice recognizing that and sticking around. Courtney, Joyce mentioned a couple of minutes ago about the modules and mentioned about the learning. Can you talk a little bit about your experience at the very beginning of not just walking into a role where you're doing the job, right? Right from the very beginning, you're a full-time employee, you're in the office, sitting next to everybody, doing actual work, but you are doing that coursework. Can you talk a little bit about that interplay between the coursework and the tasks that you were doing over the course of the last 6 months?
Yes. So when I first entered the program and joined Joyce's team, I think everyone, you're always nervous. It's like when you first start a job, you're just like, okay, do I have the correct skills? Are they applicable? Is it going to work for what I want to do? But what makes it so amazing is the classroom instruction material that we get on the platform is tailored to exactly the position. So, like Joyce spoke to, the employer is essentially creating this program for you so you can be the best whatever position you're currently in or whatever position you want to be in later in life or later in that company. So for me, I feel like without the educational instruction, I would not have been able to help and be the best employee that I am for Joyce currently, because you just don't know everything. School can't teach you everything. Maybe you have a degree or maybe you don't have a degree. You just can't learn everything, right? And I think experience is huge when it comes to the workforce. That's why we do internships, etc. But apprenticeship is so different because you are getting that on the job while you're doing it. So let's say you have that anxiety. They say, I need you to draft a contract. You're like, how do I do that? Like, I kind of know how to put one together, but then you go home, you get on the platform, you have a whole program, whether it's 2, 3 hours, that helps you with how to draft a contract. Like, that is invaluable. You don't need your employer to tell you really how to do something per se. It's like you're taking what you've learned from the day and then you're learning at night or whenever you get off of work, depending on what your work schedule is like. Like, to me, that is learning through experience, but it's also learning on your own. So you do have to take accountability for how, like, studying, so to speak. But like I said, the difference is you're not just like, well, 1 year is going to pass and I have to learn by experience, or my colleague over here, like, it's always like, I've been here for 5 years. This is how I've learned. Like I said, the difference is the fact that you don't need to be there 5 years. You are literally learning at a faster pace, given that you pair the instructional material with what you're literally doing from a day-to-day basis.
And I think one of the big things is that no matter how wonderful a new employee is, there's no way that somebody coming into a new organization can know everything that organization requires. It's not possible. And I think what the beauty of the apprenticeship program, the way it's conducted through this platform, is that, just as Courtney says, she can go back and learn some of the things that we're talking about. So there's this continuous learning environment that it's kind of almost like tennis. If you like tennis, is, you go over here, okay, I have to learn this, and you can bring that back to the platform. It comes back into the workplace, and it's really kind of a very smooth back and forth that really helps the entire organization grow, and it gives the skill sets that are needed for the organization without the employer thinking that, oh my gosh, I have to make sure that the employee knows this or that. It's really a wonderful way for everyone to be able to grow, and as Courtney mentioned earlier, it takes the pressure off because you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this. Well, go to the platform and you can learn it. Or here's a module that my employer already said, I'm going to need for you to do this. So as the time permits, you begin to study these different modules and learn how to do them. So in that regard, it's much different than a traditional hire.
Yes. Joyce, Courtney mentioned this a couple of weeks ago when we had an opportunity to connect, and I would love your thoughts on it. So one of the main pillars of an apprenticeship or skills-based hiring is mentorship. And it's very hard to grow in any career without having mentors that have gone through what you've gone through or are helping to blaze a trail for you. And I think it's one of the uniquely elegant and beautiful things about an apprenticeship is that mentor component is baked into it from the very beginning. And in fact, it's baked into our platform where you have mentor profiles on the platform, as well as the manager, as well as the apprentice. It's kind of the ethos of skills-based learning. And when I was talking to Courtney, she could not say enough about the mentorship that you provided to her and her ability to watch you and to get your guidance in supplementing the curriculum and in supplementing the day-to-day tasks. Can you maybe talk to us about your approach to mentoring and maybe some advice that you would have for other executives or managers that are bringing apprentices on and need to provide some of that mentorship to them?
So first, let me say I have the ideal mentee. So I mean, I hit the lottery, the jackpot, whichever one you say. So I really very fortunate in terms of being able to work with Courtney. But what I would say is that as with anything in life, it's an investment. And so whoever is going to be working directly with the apprentice must look at this as an investment for your organization, for your team. And if you look at it as an investment, then you're going to invest time in it, talking to the apprentice, making sure that the apprentice understands, and then going over things the communication is a two-way street. And just because you've said it once or you said it something quickly doesn't mean that everybody's going to grasp everything you said. And so it's an investment of time, and it's the most worthwhile investment of all. My goal in terms of having the apprentice is that, my desire, obviously Courtney has her own decision to make, but my desire is that we're growing Courtney in a way that she wants to spend time. So after her time as an apprentice is up, she'll want to continue on with SCA and continue to grow with the company, because as we're growing, we're needing more people. Which means that I'm also interested in new apprentices going forward. But we are growing. We're getting so many more opportunities are coming to us, and so having a group of employees who are skilled and trained and able to work in the environment in which we work is critical to our success and our growth. And we want to make it, in addition to working hard, we want it to be a fun and really supportive environment as well. And so that's the kind of environment that I like to create, I'm trying to create. And so I think for employers considering apprentices, whoever you have assigned to the apprentice, as long as you consider it an investment in the growth of your firm, in the growth of the people who are working within that as part of your team, then it will be a success, because you will invest what's needed and everybody will grow as a result.
Planting a garden is a phrase I've heard quite often in the space. Courtney, Joyce mentioned the idea of career and where you're going with your career post your time as an apprentice. Can you maybe unpack a little bit how your apprenticeship has impacted your thoughts around your career trajectory and what comes next for you?
I think for me, I'm currently in law school. I'm obtaining my master's, and I think the end goal, I think we all love to say, like, we want to help someone. We want to kind of change the world, make a dent, to make it a better place. And being a part of the SCA team has made me realize that you can make an impact in even the smallest ways. And what I mean by that is a company like ours, which is, we call it an SB, so a small business enterprise, you give people opportunities through something like an apprenticeship, is in part changing the way our educational opportunities are, the way young people who maybe can't afford it can get opportunities, imparting that knowledge that someone of 30 years has in government. Like that's invaluable experience, knowledge that you can't get. And I just can't think, I think your program enough, like Joyce enough in terms of an apprenticeship, like saved my life in regards to what I thought like the professional workforce was, like how hard I think it is in general. I think what we sacrifice to go to school, etc. Like to me, it was like, wow, I get to be in something that I'm interested in, get paid and learn. And I want to be with this company forever because I want to do that for someone else. And I think that's the whole thing is like you build a company to last, right? You don't just build it and then sell it depending on what your end goal is. And I think that's what I love about this company is it's showcasing what a good company is, what an ethical company is, what giving back means, what being an employer means. And you just don't see that anymore. So that I feel like is the change that SCA is as a company. And that's the change that I want to be a part of.
That's amazing, amazing. And I've told you this once, I'll tell you a million times. The future is bright for Courtney, and it feels like Joyce has just poured gasoline on that rocket ship. So amazing, amazing to hear that. Joyce, my hope is that this conversation did two things. Hopefully, it got young folks to see that there are other pathways to successful careers. And number two is hopefully it gets companies to say, hey, if Joyce is doing it, we should jump on this bandwagon too. You maybe talk a little bit about where would a company start? What advice would you have for a company or an organization out there that is having a hard time filling a gap in their talent pipeline and are starting to get interested in the apprenticeship model? What are some next steps they should take, or what are some things they should be doing?
So I think, well, one, making the decision that you're interested in the apprenticeship model and want to start down that path is really a great decision for your company. And and I'm sure you can provide the contact information, but it starts with talking with somebody with BuildWithin to learn education. It starts with education, learning more about the program. I have attended, I've spoken with some of the team members, but I've also attended some of the sessions that they conduct. I think it's monthly, where and they do it around the city, and they talk about the apprenticeship model, BuildWithin, how it works, the kinds of positions that are available. Courtney has one type of a position, but there are a number of different types of positions that are available for your company. And the good news is that if there isn't something that quite aligns with what you have, they're willing to add new types of positions to the program. So you're not really limited by just the ones that they have, although it's quite extensive. They're still growing and maturing this program. So I think the first thing is get education, listen to some of the sessions, get more information about it. And then as you decide which position, which one would make sense for your company, an area in which you'd like to grow and see growth for your company, then go through the process of go through the selection process. And it's definitely worth it. It really is. I think you'll find it to be exceptional. You make the final decision in terms of who your apprentice will be. So they will the team will help you. They'll learn what you're looking for. They will talk to you about the kinds of candidates you're looking for and help streamline that. So you're not looking at, like, you think, oh gosh, do I have to talk to 100 people? No, no, no. As long as you're very clear about the kind of apprentice that you're looking for, they will narrow that down for you and give you, and you can say how many you'd like to look at your top, X number, 3, 5, whatever that number is for your company, and then you go through the interview process and make the final decision. And if they're very, very flexible and willing to work with the employers. And I think that's the success of the program, which is because there is such a partnership. We're really big on partnerships. And I think this kind of partnership helps, and the communication between the two helps to develop and grow, so that there's a better understanding of what kind of position you're looking for, what kind of person you're looking for to fill the position. So I think working together, you'll get something very, very successful.
Yeah, it's not that complicated. It's made easier by partners out there in the marketplace that can help you every step of the way, including companies like BuildWithin and including Los Angeles County and the team over at the DEO. Courtney, maybe a final question for you. You have a friend that is trying to figure out what they're going to do with their life. And you're talking to them about the idea of apprenticeships. How would you recommend that they get started, or what next steps would you outline for them?
I actually have two, so I'm very excited. Sending them your way. What I outline is you can do what you want to do without the barriers of educational deficiency, economic deficiency, and actually have an opportunity. And I think that's what an apprenticeship does, is it really does give you a true opportunity without any barriers.
I love that. Joyce, any final comments, remarks, takeaways for folks out there?
Well, for employers, I would just encourage you to reach out and learn about the apprenticeship program, and invest in it. As you're looking to grow your company, invest in it. It's really worthwhile. You get wonderful candidates, and it's an opportunity to bring somebody in, teach them, and help them to grow as your company grows. And I think it's great.
Thank you. And I will say for both of you, for anybody that's listening, folks that are listening today, Joyce and Courtney are tremendous advocates for the apprenticeship model, but also just incredible leaders in their space. And LA is very lucky to have both of y'all at the tip of the spear. I'm incredibly blessed to have the two of you with me here today. And if folks want more information on BuildWithin, obviously you can check out our website, but maybe Joyce, Courtney, if they want to connect with you, website, LinkedIn, how could they get in touch?
For me, I am on LinkedIn. We do have a website, scastrategic.com. So yes, but definitely through LinkedIn, can message. That's probably the easiest way. And please reach out. Feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to discuss the program, provide any information, or answer any questions. Sometimes it's very helpful just to hear, from somebody who's gone through it, and, anything that you may confront. More than happy to discuss that with you. So please feel free to reach out.
Courtney, how could folks?
Me as well. I'm on LinkedIn, but also for the young folks, if you just really want to get in touch, I'm on Instagram. We all know, you guys know that. Just type in my name. I tend to pop up there. So there's many different forms of ways you can contact me.
Wonderful. Courtney, Joyce, thank you for joining us today. And we'll see you later on down the road.
Thank you, Philip.